I'm Ted Fairbank, and I'm a lieutenant. After about 3 months in country, I'm guessing on timing, because of the concern of the VC coming down through Cambodia and concern that they would push up into the Paris Peak to Saigon, they ordered the PBRs back in to protect the Paris Peak, which was the sort of the river that came down, rivers that came down around the area where Saigon was. And as a side note, it was about that time the RAND Corporation was paid $600,000 to prepare a defense plan for Saigon. It took 6 months to do it, and then proposed a moat. I wrote a memo to my division commander at the time saying, I'd like to be put on the list for such future bids. I could have done it for $400,000 and would have included guard towers and drawbridges for the same amount. He rejected my memo, unfortunately. But it's a true story about the RAND Corporation. So at the time the PBRs were pulled up, we were ordered into the rivers to pick up the PBR patrols down through the whole delta. And there was Antoy in the south and then Catlow in the north of the delta. We didn't have charts. We didn't have maps in many cases. It was just, we were told to go in, and we were given, like the coastal patrols, which still went on, we were given patrols in the rivers. So it began with those. A little bit like Mark Twain's Life on the Mississippi. You learned to read the water. You figured out where sand built up. We'd learned already just to get into some of the rivers. There was one river in particular where you had to come to a specific bearing on a fish trap pole and come to that thing, and then run it better than 16 knots, or you'd be set into a sandbar, and you ran a wedge between two sandbars. It was the only way into the river. There was a lot of that, and there were a lot of uncharted sandbars as much as 5 kilometers out at sea, so we were used to looking for that sort of thing, but the rivers were a new experience, which we got used to. So began running the rivers, began running day and night patrols looking for people, and shortly after that we got into inserting rough buff troops as well. So we would pick them up from the rough buff fort, take them down to areas and then insert them. Plus at the ends between the rivers, at the ends of the areas that were called no fire zones, and we'd be ordered to run raids through those. We had speakers on the boats and were told to play Chu Hoi tapes. They were in Vietnamese and said, surrender now, put down your weapons, come out, we will take you on board, you will not be harmed, and whatever. And the experience we had one night, we were comparing notes in the bar over beer, and the experience we had was that those messages had more of the effect of causing the VC to pick up the weapons and shoot at us than they did to lay down the weapons and surrender. In fact, no one had surrendered. So we launched a competition among the officers to come up with a better tape to play as we ran through these areas that would perhaps have caused the VC to relax and come out. I'm very pleased my boat won the competition ultimately. And the tape we had that we played thereafter was Tiny Tim singing Tiptoe Through the Tulips. I'm not entirely sure that no one ever surrendered, but they didn't shoot at us. My theory was that they probably thought Tiny was on the boat and they didn't want to hurt him, but we're not sure. But when I saw Apocalypse Now and they played the Flight of the Valkyries going in, I recognized certainly what was going on in that. And in fact, once when we went on patrol, we were going down in the VC area, we forgot the tape, and my crew was panicked because they began to think of it as a luck talisman, that having that tape and playing that helped bring good luck. We made it through though without a problem. The raids in the VC areas, there was one we went through. It was I remember exactly the path of the river and the whole bit, but there were signs in the beginning that said, American pig, he will die. We were waiting, and I kept looking at it and thinking, we really need a Burma shave sign at the end. This is just like, but then we decided there might be a booby trap, so we wouldn't do it. But it seemed somehow that they'd missed something in their education that we lost. In those rivers, occasionally we would get ambushed, nothing serious on those, but it was more the bigger raids that we did some SEAL team insertions, took SEALs in. They didn't like the boats to the extent that we had flaps over the two exhausts in the back that would flap up and down and make a tremendous noise. And it occurred to us that and certainly occurred to them, that the idea of the SEALs was to sneak in. And it was pretty hard to sneak with two 12V71 diesel engines and these flaps going in the back. So we'd cut one engine off and we would tie up the flaps and we'd run in on one engine to insert them, and then we had the signals and the clicks, and then we'd go back in to pick them up when they're ready. And they went in on their kidnapping and ambushes and whatever. And that was always interesting. There was one raid in particular. I took another boat down. We were supposed to take a team in, and you have to pardon me, but I don't remember the names of the rivers anymore. Some of the people knew, but I remember this river. This was one where you had to go through the sandbars and whatever, and it was by then monsoon season. And what happens in monsoon season is what is a calm sea before suddenly becomes 10, 12-foot seas with a 4-second interval. 4-second interval means from peak to peak you got 4 seconds and you got a 12-foot drop in between. So every 30 minutes we would have to change helmsman. Helmsman had a safety belt on, wore a helmet in case he went off the overhead. 2 hands on the throttles and 1 on the wheel. Because when he went up over the waves, you had to keep from broaching because you'd roll, and that was the real danger, was rolling the boat. So you had to keep it aimed straight through. So you'd go through, skitter down one side, and then power up through the next one, and one after another. It was exhausting work. But when you went down on a raid, the other thing that occurred to me was that if you had 12 feet of water up here, there was less water down there, and if there were sandbars, several kilometers out at sea, there were problems we weren't used to. So someone had to watch the thermometer all the time as well to make sure we weren't getting in trouble that way. So we went in to pick up the SEAL team, and they were in a meeting, and it was a stormy day. And I said, what's the mission, Chief? The chief was out, and the others were meeting in a room. He said, well, we've lost our helicopter cover, and they only like to go in with helicopter cover, and so we're debating whether we want to go in or not. I said, what's the mission? He said, well, we're going around. We know from where the assassins of a village chief and his 2 daughters came 2 days ago from this village, and we're going in to get them. And I said, okay. And I said, where is it? And so we looked at the chart, and I said, well, I can save you the trouble. In order to go in, we would have to go out through the sandbars and then beat those seas with the oil on these boats, come around the far side and come back in and enter on the far side doing searching. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I said, this is too much, not safe for you, not safe for me. So he went in and I came out and said, no problem, it's canceled. But we were doing raids like that, as well as I said, the rough buff raids in VC held areas.